we start from here. Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It was really interesting to participate in this meeting. And my first question was where to start from on such a subject, waste management in the context of circular economy. So I could not resist the temptation to start from what I consider the very basic, exponential growth in a limited planet, in limited resources. Unfortunately, all our models, or most of our models since 1970s really, the Club of Rome, demonstrate that as we keep having an exponential growth in resource consumption, and Peter showed the most recent data, and the corresponding growth in waste production and the associated emissions, all models, most models show that at some point later, sooner or later, we get into a collapse. We don't like this idea. I think nobody in humanity would like this idea. So see some numbers about some global facts about waste management. There are some numbers about the production of waste in the different world regions. We are in the EU, which is a region with probably the most advanced policies in waste management and circular economy. Although still, although aspirational policies are there and a lot of progress has been made, there are still huge challenges in getting to the goal of actually increasing circularity. But the global picture is even tougher, and in a globalized world, you can only look at the global picture. So about 70% of municipal solid waste still go to landfills at the best case, and dump sites very, very often. Only about 11% is incinerated or at best cases used in a waste-to-energy plant, which means that at least we get some energy. And only less than 20% goes to recycling, including mechanical biological treatment. And I say that, I stress the including, because often the recycling that comes out of an MBT facility is of low quality and cannot really be used for higher value of materials. It's a huge industry, over 350 billion euros per year, and which occupies about 40 million of workers. And these numbers are meant to increase if we are to provide more material circular in local economies, and this can increase at the benefit of local economies. Let's see where we are in Greece. Compared to the EU, there are some numbers about the EU 28. We're not 28 anymore, but still numbers are valid.
Sorry about that.
We have higher per capita production of solid waste, which was not the case some years ago. And this is because we probably don't have as much prevention measures in place, but also still statistics in waste are not that well elaborated. Still we have a long distance from having standardized methods. Our recycling is low, a little bit above the global average, but much below the European average. The circularity of material use, how much material actually returns to and replaces primary resources, is very low. It's about 1/3 of the European average. Our gross investment in infrastructure is low but increasing, and there are jobs related. And what is interesting is the number of patents related to recycling and circularity of raw materials, quite low compared to the European average. Still, though, this is a focus in Greece compared to the EU, but if you remember the larger global picture, challenges are much larger, sorry. Well, I think most people here know this butterfly, the circularity butterfly, what we have to do at the technological cycle, at the technological materials and at the biological materials. You cannot recycle biological materials, you cannot recycle your potato peels, but you can produce value out of them in a cascading bioeconomy. And as Peter said very well, we have many, many examples. Technologies are there, but they're at small scale. Scaling them up, making real economic sense, it's a huge challenge. And the same stands for the technological cycle. And we have to keep in mind that we should not focus just at the end of the cycles, at the larger cycles, which is the recycling and recovery of materials and energy, but also change of behavioral models, change how we use materials, change how we purchase, behavioral change, which is crucial, reuse. And all these are there. We start discussing about them, and this is a huge step forward, but challenges are still there, and taking up this change will be a challenge. There are, circular economy requires all this. Peter covered this. I want to say a few of the barriers, mainly the technological barriers. There are always contamination risks. In cadmium, we see that most of it's incorporated in the recycled materials. So we have to make a balance at a good informing level on what risk we are ready to accept, because recycling often does not produce as clear materials as the first raw materials, but what is the real risk there? Often the real risk is much less than what could sometimes be perceived. There is, and this is inevitable, quantity and quality loss in each cycle. And that means that at the end of the day, we will always need a final sink. We should remember that in waste management. The last diagram there shows an actual picture of materials flow in the EU, not very circular indeed. And obviously our aspiration is to increase the flows in the loop and decrease what gets in and gets out. But what we have to keep in mind that always something will get out. And finally, is market prices. Currently, market prices are not very, recycling using secondary materials is still much more expensive in most cases compared to raw materials. And here we need the policy and financial and economic tools to change that. But I think, thank you very much.